now to talk more about this is geopolitical expert and international affairs analyst Marco Vincenzo. Thanks so much for your time. It was very confident of the Russian president to come out today and say, we're not helping them out financially. Why is that so?
Russia is steeped into deep political problems and economic problems. Primarily is the Western sanctions against Russia, which have damaged the Russian economy. And secondly, and probably even more importantly, is the international price of oil. The international price of oil has further done damage to the Russian economy. And Russia is in a very weak position right now, and the least it would want to do is to try to prevent further problems by trying to play Greece as a Trojan horse within Europe.
But Vladimir Putin did say that Russia will try to invest in projects in Greece. So it was somewhat of a successful talk if you look at future investments in Greece.
It's diplomatic language. Tsipras, the Greek prime minister, would like to, his visit to Russia was a message to the Europeans, quote unquote, we have other options beyond Europe, i.e. meaning Russia and meaning China also. But in this case, their options remain limited because Russia is, once again, being in a weak position. Any gestures would be more symbolic than anything else. So this, I think, more is in terms of rhetorics than concrete reality. Greece remains steeply in debt. Europe has poured billions into Greece, and Russia simply doesn't have the billions to bankroll Greece.
Yeah, definitely not, especially since of the sanctions in Russia. But Austria came out today saying to Greece, you should be careful of your relationship with Russia. Why would they do that?
It's all the European member states. Basically, Austria and many states in Central and Eastern Europe, and many of them reliant upon Russian natural resources, primarily gas, are very much fearful of Russian leverage in Europe. Russia will try to use its leverages and all the weak points in Europe that it can see, whether it's with Tsipras in Greece, Viktor Orban in Turkey, or even populist parties such as Marine Le Pen in France. Those remain points of leverages, and many other states in Central and Eastern Europe remain quite sensitive to Russian hegemony or Russian influence in their part of Europe.
Yeah. Now, if you look specifically at Greece's financial woes, they are struggling. They're trying to get war reparations from Germany, $300 billion worth. Do you think they're going to actually meet tomorrow's deadline for the IMF payment?
They've said they did so. The Greek finance minister, Varoufakis, was in Washington on Easter Sunday, and he said specifically after a meeting with Christine Lagarde that they would pay their debts to the IMF, and they'll pay their debts for the month of April. But the big question is, technically they'll be bankrupt by the month of May, unless they reach a reform package with the Eurozone countries. They will be technically in default, basically bankrupt by the month of May. So these next few days, these next few weeks remain a very critical time.
Yeah. Now, the president of Greece says he's trying to renegotiate with the EU and IMF, of course, but they're not happy with the Greek reforms. So are they going to get any more money if they need it? Are they going to get an extension on future payments? Do you think that's likely?
The bottom line for many of their creditors is the key words: structural reform. The Greek government has promised to crack down on tax evasion, which is to the delight of many of their creditors. But the bottom line is, will they do the structural reform, whether it's in terms of pensions, other issues, labor reform, and in this point, the current government has so far proven reluctant. So my opinion is that before they issue any more money, before they come up with a new reform package, their creditors want to see true dedication and commitment to structural reform.
So we're always talking about the leaders of all countries, the IMF, EU, Greece's president, trying to get this bailout. But how does this actually affect people in Greece?
Well, people in Greece, obviously, this is an extremely difficult situation, probably one of the most difficult periods since the Greek Civil War, since the Second World War. And many has to do with internal corruption, endemic corruption, I would say, and many factors internally in Greece. And many countries have lent to Greece in a fairly irresponsible way. but the Greek government has to be realistic. Many of the privileges that they offered over the years to the private sector, many of, I would say, exaggerations in terms of the way they've run their economy, simply has to come to an end. There has to be a transformation. I'm not saying that Greece 100% has to live up to all their commitments. There has to be a bit more of leeway on the part of their creditors. But before their creditors do so, they want to see that commitment, once again, to that structural reform, a real, true transformation in the Greek system, political and economic and beyond.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that happens. Thank you very much. International Affairs Analyst Marco Vincenzo.